Hey everybody, welcome to our advanced timeline editing tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be covering some more advanced concepts such as time warp and transition curve, as well as how to create your own motion clips. So let's just recap from the previous tutorial, the basic timeline editing. You can see we learned how to transform the position of this car from one place to another. We learned how to have our character walk down the street and do a multi-angle turn, all using keyframe editing and all that fun stuff. So in this tutorial, the first thing we're going to start off with is we're going to learn how to create your own motion clip. So let's go ahead and I'm going to zoom in on this taxi, and I can just click it and press the F key. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in an actor. So we're going to go to the character folder here. Let's go ahead and just bring in this Emma character. We'll bring her onto the taxi right there. And let's bring her a little bit up on the Z-axis as well. Okay, now the first thing we want to do is we want to actually bring Emma into a 90-degree profile. So let's use the left bracket key to bring her to 45 and then 90 degrees there. And then let's just go ahead and lift her up onto the taxi right there, and we should be good to go. Now, of course, you may recall in the last tutorial we used the link tool to link the taxi tires to the taxi. This time around we're going to do the same thing, just with the character. So we're going to take Emma, and we're going to go up here and select link, and we're going to link Emma to the taxi, because she's going to be a daredevil kind of jumping off this taxi, as you'll see in a moment. So now you can see that when I do that, Emma just kind of goes along on the roof of the taxi. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to actually create a custom motion, a custom jump for Emma. So let's go ahead maybe to about, I don't know, somewhere around frame 50, right when she's at the corner of this building or so. And what we want to do is press F3 and go into our trusty old timeline here. And you can see Emma's track has appeared. And what I want to do is open up my 3D motion tracks right here, because we're going to be creating a custom motion. So again, we can scrub through here on the timeline. Maybe what I want to do is at the frame 50, I'm going to double click on the 3D motion layer track right here, and that's going to bring up my 3D motion key editor on the right hand side there. And if I double click again, what that's going to do is that's going to add a keyframe. And then you can see when I do that, this entire clip appears in the top there. Now you're probably wondering why, if I just add a keyframe, why is this entire clip appearing? And that's because if I press Ctrl Z and I undo this right now, I'm just going to go out to my menu here. We can go to Edit and Motion Clip, and I have this clip Auto Extend selected. If I don't have that selected, it's just going to create a keyframe and a little one frame clip right here. And that can work as well depending on really what you're going for. But here we're going to create a new motion clip. So I'm going to leave Clip Auto Extend on, because it's just easier later on to be able to flatten your clip. And you can do further modifications to that as well. For more information on editing your clips and creating motions, you can check out our intro to character motion tutorial. So let's go ahead and keep that on, and again double click here and extend that clip. So we just added a keyframe there because that's where our motion is going to begin. So let's go ahead and start our motion. It's going to be a jump. So maybe about a few frames down the road, maybe about frame 60, what I want to do is grab my character's hip here, and we're going to just bring the character down into a crouch position like that, because this is going to be the jump preparation stage. So let's go ahead and grab her spine there as well. You can use the E hotkey to rotate and bring that down a little bit, and we can just grab her her hip there as well, bring that a little bit back, something like that. Okay, so from this frame I can click there and I can use my arrow keys to kind of go forward from this frame to this frame. She's kind of going to be going down and preparing for her jump, and then we'll just kind of maybe make that extend a little bit to about there. So from here to here she's going to be in that crouch position, and then maybe about here, let's go to frame 76 or so, we're going to bring her up into her jump position. So let's go ahead and grab those hips, bring those up. You can even bring them quite a bit forward as well, something like that. Let's just make sure we're not lifting her off the ground, because we don't want to change her transform position. We want to use the transform to do that. So let's go ahead and maybe, there you go, that looks like a fairly decent jumping animation. If you want to go into more detail, we can grab her feet there and use the mirror option and kind of just point those out, point those toes, so it looks like she's kind of jumping more. So we can play that back in real time. Jump just like that. And then she's going to kind of maintain that position for a while. And maybe we can maintain it to about here or so. And just double click there, add a keyframe. And then we can go down to about, let's say, frame 95. And let's make sure we can see Emma in our screen here. Just double click in the 3D motion layer track. And we're going to bring her back down to her crouch position. So let's go ahead and select the W hotkey, bring it out like that. And bring her hips backward again there. And rotate that spine a little bit. And get her feet back to normal as well. Let's just make sure those are, there we go. And we should be good to go there. And so now she's kind of jumped. Oops. Let's just actually add a keyframe there. Control Z that. There we go. And then she's kind of falling down in here, and then she's going to get back up. So right here we can just bring her back to the default position by using this button right here. There we go, bam. So there's our entire jump right here. Let's go through that frame by frame. So she's kind of crouching down here, preparing to jump, and jumping right there, and then landing right there, and then getting back up. Alright, so now that we have all of the actual body modifications, the motion key edits done, we need to actually go about transforming her position. Now let's go ahead and do that. So let's go zoom out a little bit, and let's open up our transform track. Now you notice that we also have the link set here as well. What I want to do is eventually I want to unlink that. So when do I want to unlink it? Probably about here is when she's kind of launching off the ground. Maybe about there is where we'll just unlink it. So let's go ahead and select our unlink tool here. There we go. So that link is now terminated at that point right there. And we have Emma kind of just jumping right there. So let's go ahead and at this point, what I want to do is double click in the transform track, add a transform key. Now you'll see that this may happen occasionally, that Emma will kind of pop up somewhere else on the screen. Let's go back to this frame and see where she is. So she's kind of popped up ahead on the screen here, and she's going ahead. So what we need to do is just take this transform key, we'll right click that and delete it. And what I want to do is at this frame right here, we can just make sure this is going to be the first keyframe in our scene here. Let's just make sure that Emma is back at the correct position right here, and on that taxi right there. Make sure she's just in front of the taxi. There you go. That should be okay right there. Alright, and move her up right there. So now from this position on, she's going to be on that taxi, because that is indeed the first keyframe in that track. We don't have any other keyframes before that, so you'll see here she'll just kind of jump right there. And it seems as though she's like kind of behind this lady in the background, so we need to adjust the Z-axis on her as well. Go ahead and select Emma there. Let's go back to frame 1. Make sure Emma's in a far away position. Play through that. Make sure she's not walking behind any of the buildings. There we go. Alright, there you go. Okay, she walks in front of that building. Good. So we have all of our positioning correct. So let's go here and let's add our link. When the transform first starts, let's go ahead to this point where she's at the peak of her jump. Select Emma. Make sure we have Emma selected. There we go. Selected Emma. And we're going to transform her position to super high in the sky. She's going to be like a Michael Jordan jumper, and of course she kind of stays in that position. We want her to stay there, and maybe we want her to land about here. And at this point here, we want her to be on the ground behind a taxi. Bam, right there. That should be good. And then she gets back up. So here we go. You can see that's a very, very basic clip that I just created there. Just a jump, jumping off the taxi. Nothing too dynamic about it. It's a very, very basic jump. Maybe at this point here, you can see that she's jumping. And maybe if we wanted to move that transform a little bit back, we can do that as well. So it's like she's jumping off the ground a little bit earlier. There we go. Alright, so now that motion is all nice and good. It looks fairly decent. But what if we want to maybe add some more dynamic feeling to that motion, some more energy? So let's go ahead and maybe from this point to this point, I'm going to teach you about transition curves right now. So if you notice, if I just go on this frame 50 here, and I gradually go ahead with my keys, you'll notice that there's kind of a linear transition from this point, this position, to that position. As in, like, every single frame, she's moving a little bit forward, like that. Let's take a look at what happens if I right-click this keyframe right here, right-click it, and select Transition Curve, and select maybe Ease In. Alright, so let's see what Ease In does. If we go back to frame 50, go ahead frame by frame, you'll see in the first maybe 4 or 5 frames there's really nothing much happening. Very little action. And then at these frames here, then she kind of goes down quite a bit. So the action is all packed into these few frames here. So that's a transition curve. And to further explain that, I'm going to right click on the transition curve here and select custom. And you can see the actual transition curve right here. Now what's happening is less of the motion between this keyframe here and this keyframe here. There's less motion happening in this area here, and then there's more motion happening in this one right here. And I can even increase the curve like that. So let's see what happens if we do that. If we go from here, you can see there should be basically no movement from here to here, and then bam, it'll be just in that last frame she'll go down like that. Maybe we don't really want that. Let's go ahead and right click that one. Let's check out Ease Out as an example. Okay, so let's try Ease Out, and I'm going to right click and select the custom transition curve there. And you can see we have this severe transition curve played out right here. Let's take a look if we bring that back to normal. You should be able to guess that from this frame to this frame, you'll see that more motion is happening earlier on. It's not so linear. So most of the motion is happening now in the first early frames. As you can see in this curve, most of the motion is going to be played out by the halfway point. We can make that even more extreme as well by going there, and you can see her position changes. So from here, maybe even one or two frames, she's already established her crouching pose that is in this keyframe right here. So for this keyframe, we don't really want to do much in this keyframe, so we can just actually right-click this and just select the linear transition curve, because that's just a fine. She's kind of just crouching down like that, and maybe between this one right here and this one right here, that's where she's jumping. So what we want to do here is we want to make this jump really rocket. So you can see from here to here, we're actually going to move up to the transform this time, the transform track. We can also add transition curves on these keyframes as well. So between 75 and 80 here, you can see she's kind of just raising up, almost like she's on an elevator. So what we want to do to make that a bit more dynamic, the change in position, is let's try the Ease Out on this one right here. So as you may recall, that will make most of the motion happen in these first few keyframes. So let's select that, select Ease Out, and transition curve, and let's make this one a bit severe. Let's go ahead, something like that. And now you can see that she should just rocket off the ground on these first few frames right there. So you can see that's a nice, she pops up a lot more energetically than before. So just like that, pop like that. And now you can see from here to here she's kind of just falling down. And what we want to do is at this point we want to have another ease out, or another ease in, sorry. So let's right click this one, select transition curve, ease in, and let's make that a bit more severe. So there shouldn't be any movement until closer to the end, because we kind of want her to float in the air for a little bit, like around this area, and then just kind of just kind of land on the ground really dynamically. So let's take a look at this one. So you can see the difference right there. She's kind of like that, and it just adds a bit more dynamic feel. Maybe we can even just decrease that curve a little bit. Let's try to take a look at that one. That looks like, there you go. So now you can see it's kind of just more like what we want. It's a much more dynamic curve. And maybe from this one, as far as the 3D motion layer keys are concerned, from this one to this one, we can also try and ease in on this one. So maybe she's not really returning to her position there until the very end. So let's try to do an ease in on that one as well. And you'll see the difference here. We move that up. There we go. And let's take a look. So now she'll kind of just, there you go. That looks even better. So you can see it jumps up and then doesn't really bend over until the last minute right there, and that's kind of what we're looking for right there. So we got a much more dynamic jump. Alright, so that's about it for transition curves. Let's talk about time warps now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another character into our scene here, and we're going to zoom out a little bit and move over to the left hand side here. And what I'm going to do is find our man Saul in the content manager. Let's go over here and find Saul. There we go. And Saul's going to be actually throwing something at Emma. This is the reason Emma's going to be jumping, and I'm going to show you how to time that out later as well. So we have Saul here. And what I'm going to do is just turn Saul the opposite way. So he's going to be facing Emma, again using my bracket keys. And what I'm going to do is actually apply an iClone animation to Saul. So let's Alt-Tab over to iClone here. And I've already got this set up. I'm going to be adding this Monster Motion Volume 1 punch to Saul. Now it says punch, but it can actually double as a throw, as you'll see in a moment. I'm going to apply it to this character I have on the screen here. And you can just imagine that that monster is kind of punching or just like tossing something. So let's take a look at it from a different angle. Maybe from the side here is a bit better. There we go. There you can see he's just like tossing something with his right hand, just like that. Alright, so let's go ahead. I'm going to click and drag this motion directly into my CrazyTalk animator. There we go. And we're going to add it directly onto Saul. So you can see it's not a bad motion. Let's go ahead and click on Saul and press F key to focus on him. Let's take a closer look at that one. There you go. Kind of just a nice tossing motion right there. So we'll press F3, go into our timeline. We don't need Emma up right now. We have Saul selected. And let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit and take a look at that motion clip. When you add a motion in from iClone, it'll add as a 3D motion clip. Now you can see on this clip, it has the data already here. It says transition curve, linear, time warp, linear. So basically what I can do here is I can adjust this time warp. Let's go ahead and try that. Pay attention, I'm going to play it back one time here. You can see it's a very very linear motion. You can see from, if I just use my keys to go ahead here, let's go click here. And let's go ahead on the frames. It's very just a very even toss throughout the entirety of the motion clip. Let's go ahead and right click on the motion clip now, and let's select time warp, and let's see what happens when I do the time warp. So let's go ahead and try and ease in. Okay, let's try and ease in first. Let's play that back. So you can see now it's kind of more of a wind up, and the end part is more dynamic there. So that looks a little bit better. Now if we try, let's go ahead and try and ease out in this situation. You can see that most of the action will happen in this beginning part here, and the follow through is much slower. So it's a very fast throw, and the follow through is quite a bit slower. Let's go ahead and right click and try time warp. Let's try ease in and ease out and see what that does. So you can see that part, there's a little bit of slower motion at the beginning. Now let's take a look at the ease in, ease out clip. Ease out graph, sorry. So now you can see that at the beginning there's very little motion happening, and here there's a lot of motion in the middle happening, and at the end there's a very slow follow through. So let's try and see what happens if we make that more extreme. Let's take a look at this one. So you can see it almost goes too fast. You can't even see the motion because all of the actual motion of the clip is happening in these few frames here. Let's go ahead and let's try and ease out and in this time and see what happens with this one. So you can see a lot of the motion happens in this area right here, and then it waits for a little bit, and then more motion happens here. Let's try and make that more extreme as well. As you can see, it's a very fast, and then something like that. So we probably don't want to use any of these ease in, ease out things. I think the ease in kind of looked the best. Maybe not so extreme, maybe a little bit more soft like that, and there you go. So it's kind of like a very nice slow wind up. Maybe try and line that out a little bit more. There we go. So it's almost like a more dynamic wind up, and then boom, just a nice fast throw like that. Alright, so that's basically your time warp. So let's go ahead and add something into Saul's hand here. We're going to give him a bottle. And I'm going to show you a quick little trick here about how you can actually add accessories to characters and pull a switcheroo and replace them with props. You'll need that for certain situations. So let's take a look, go into scenes first. Let's go into props and business objects. In business objects, we have a bottle of wine because we all know you can't do business without wine. So let's just click and drag this wine over onto Saul here. Now, if we zoom in, obviously, like I mentioned, we want to have Saul throw this wine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually move it over and kind of put it over his hand right there. You can see that there's a little bit of a problem. Basically, the wine is not it's kind of on the top of his hand, and no one can really hold wine with the top of their hand. Let's see what happens if we try and pull this back on the z-axis. Oh, it just goes behind his whole body, which kind of looks a little bit weird because his hand is in front of his thigh, but the bottle is behind the thigh. So what are we going to do in this situation? There's a really cool trick that I'll show you here. It's very useful for these types of situations. We're actually going to take Saul, and we're going to take him into the character composer right here on the top left. So once Saul is in the character composer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and find our props, our bottle of wine right here, and I'm going to select this bottle of wine, and I'm going to click and drag it onto his hand. Now what that's doing is that's going to make the bottle of wine an accessory as part of his hand there. I'm just going to rotate that into place. We can really place that wherever we like. It doesn't really matter, but I'm going to just move it to about there. And you can grab this pivot point as well, because we're going to move it a little bit later, and move that pivot point to where the hand is attaching to the handle there. And that should be okay right there. And let's go ahead and back out of our character composer there. Okay, so now you see we have two bottles. Now, which one is the prop? Which one is the original? You can take a look here. Let's go into our scene manager on the right-hand side. And you can see that the one that's parented to Saul, that is our accessory. So we can actually just double-click on this. We can rename it line accessory just to avoid confusion later on. And what I want to do is, actually at this point right here, I want to select my wine. And I want to make my wine invisible. Okay, so this one we want to be invisible, and we'll make that reappear later. So at frame 1, I want the wine prop to be invisible, and I want this wine accessory to be visible. Now, because this wine is an accessory now of Saul, we can use a little trick with the layers. We can perform a little trick with our layer editor. So let's go ahead and select Saul. Let's go into our layer editor right here. You can also use the L hotkey, and in your accessory list, you have a bottle of wine. Now what I can do is select this wine and put this wine sent to the back of my character's right hand. And you can see that, shazam, it just happens to go in the right position that we want it to. And that is all by design. So let's go ahead now and change his hand sprite. We can just change it to something, let's go to the sprite switcher right here and change it to something like a fist so it makes it look like he's kind of holding that bottle. And now you can see that the accessory is connected to Saul, and let's go ahead and play that back. Just tosses that bottle. But you can see the bottle just stays in his hand. So let's press F3, go into our timeline, and we have Saul here, so let's just zoom out a little bit. And what I'm going to do is, we need to kind of time this out. So you can see that with that ease in, it's a very, very quick throw. So about there is where he's kind of tossing that bottle at frame 28. That should be where the bottle is being tossed. So let's go ahead at that frame. We're going to close down our sprite editor right now. And at this frame right here, maybe frame, you can see that's a very fast throw. So even one frame, it's just launching that ball right here. Maybe at this frame right here, what I want to do is with the wine bottle selected, let's go ahead and select our accessory here. So let's find wine accessory. There we go. And let's transform. Let's go ahead and double click that, and let's kind of just twirl that up to about there, and that should be the good launch position for the bottle. And then let's take a look at how that affects the rest of the bottle throw right there. So let's try and press space. Oh, maybe we don't want it to move right there. You can see it's kind of moving in his hand right there. So we want to take this transform key, right click, just copy that, and the original position we'll just copy and paste it to about here, and there we go. So right there. Now here is where we actually want to make this wine invisible. So this wine accessory right now, the visibility, we can open that up, and we can just go ahead and make it invisible right there. You can see that we'll create a keyframe right there, and now this wine is invisible. And this is the point now where we actually want to make the other wine visible. So let's go ahead, close down our wine accessory right now. We won't need it anymore. And let's go ahead and into our props and select our bottle of wine, the wine prop. And this point here, like I mentioned, this is where we want it to be visible. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the visibility right there. You can see it's in the wrong place, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and close down Sol then, and open up our transform track right here. And we may need to bring that wine accessory up there again, just to kind of compare the positions. So let's transform, and here that wine bottle is the prop one, should be about. Let's just twirl it around, move it up there. Don't pay attention to where it is before this, essentially because it's not going to really matter. That's going to be our not launch position for the wine bottle right there. And you can see I added a transform right there. What I can do is even copy this and paste this a few frames earlier. So even though it's invisible, now it's visible, and you can see it will appear. And that. So currently the bottle in his hand right now is the accessory, and then from here, now it's suddenly the wine prop. So it's going to be from here to here, and he's just kind of tossing it, and the wine prop. We're going to give that a really speedy path towards Emma. So let's go ahead and zoom out, and we're going to zoom out quite far. Emma's still on the taxi right here. And maybe we'll go to about frame 50, maybe frame 70, and frame 80. And let's go ahead and bring this wine bottle all the way across. We want to zoom in a little bit so we can actually get our transform gizmo. There we go. That's the resize. So we want to go even closer. Not too close. There we go. And I can move that over here. And it's going to be kind of moving over there, so there we go. That should be good. We'll move it all the way to the very end, actually. And you can see that green path right there, of course, is the transform path of our flying wine bottle. So let's go ahead and take a look at our timing right here. Let's go ahead and right click, or sorry, just zoom out. This is a very, very large scene. So you can see if I play back. The wine's going a little bit slow, so maybe what I want to do is kind of just bring this up to, maybe let's try 55, and I'll make it even faster. There you go. That looks a bit faster, a little bit better. However, Emma again is jumping too slow. Her reactions are a little bit slow. Whoops. Okay, now there's two ways we can fix that. We can either move all of Emma's stuff, over a little bit, or we could just go ahead and add a little bit of time in front of Sol's action. Let's go ahead and try the Sol path. You can do either way. I'm just going to go ahead and choose the Sol path in this one. We're going to delay his motion a little bit. As you may recall, it's a 3D motion, so it's kind of just easy just to move around, really. Let's go ahead and move that up. Now, of course, we're going to have to, mess around again with the positions and everything of the wine bottles. So let's take a look at just kind of try to spitball this as to where he's throw right there. It almost looks like so throw happens right there. She's kind of jumping before, so maybe we need to move this a little bit back. There we go. I think that'll work just fine. Let's bring it up to about maybe frame 40. Toss right there, and then she jumps. Okay, so I think we're good right there. Now what are we going to do from here to here with Sol? You can see at our frame 1, it's gone back to an original default. We don't really want that. Let's go ahead and click and drag our whole clip back here. So let's go ahead, and what I want to do is actually break this clip to maintain that initial pose. So I'm going to focus in on Sol here, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to zoom in quite a bit. Let's go to frame 2. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to break this clip into 2, and you can see that now that will add a little clip there which has our initial position at the beginning, and we can move this back to wherever we had it before. And let's just zoom out a little bit so we can get a better look at where Emma's jumping, her timing again. I'm holding shift and scrolling my mouse button here, and let's just move out a little bit, and yeah, so that'll work. Just one throw and then jump. Okay, we can maybe even make Emma's jump a little bit more dynamic as well. So at this point you can see he's kind of moving from frame 1 to frame 2. What I can do is I can just click on here, I can right click and select remove motion, and I can remove motion from my body right here, and that should just kind of take care of that. You can see there's a little bit of motion from that one to that one, but that's okay. Let's go to our maybe frame 15. And I'm going to use double click in my 3D motion layer editor here, bring up our tool, and let's go ahead and maybe add a little bit of a idle kind of motion to Saul as he's waiting to toss his bottle. So I'm going to click on the hip right there. Let's click or press the W hotkey to use the transform gizmo here, and we can maybe move him forward like that. You can see the keyframe will appear, maybe around frame 25. Let's move him back like this. And at frame 35, let's kind of move him a little bit forward, maybe something like that. Now let's take a look at what that looks like. That should be a nice looking idle. There you go. Oh, we had too many keyframes there. What are those keyframes doing there? I think I must have accidentally added some separate keyframes where I didn't want to add them. So we should have we can maybe even separate these out a little bit more. Yeah, that'll be fine. We can maybe even take care of this, delete this last one here. Let's go ahead and play that back. Now you can see that preparing right there, and then just zooming up and then tossing that bottle. So again, we need to change the, let's go back into our tracks right here, wine accessory and wine. We're going to have to really change those positions. Make sure that they're all selected. There we go. And Saul can stay where he is. Let's mess around with the transforms for our two little wine bottles here. So maybe we can even leave Saul's track open here, just to compare to where that clip is. Let's bring that clip here. So right here, again, we're going to, this is the wine accessory. So the wine accessory is going to transform right there. That's where we want it to be. Frame 64, I believe that is. Go back to here. Let's take a look. That should be fine right there. Oh, and of course the visibility. We want to click and drag that visibility all the way up to here for the wine bottle. So here he's kind of right there, and it just disappears. He's throwing it too fast that it just disappears, but actually what's happening is we have caused it to disappear, and we're going to take that other wine there, and we're going to click and drag to select all of these keyframes, and then I'm going to kind of move these ones over here, and I think that's where we should put it right there. Let's take a look frame by frame. Oh, and of course the visibility, that's always messing us up here. Let's go ahead and move that visibility all the way to that frame right here. And oh, that's Saul's visibility that I messed around with there. Let's go ahead and get too many tracks open here. Let's go to the wine and open up the wine track. There we go. That's the one we need to modify right there. It can be a little bit confusing when you got so many tracks open. There we go. That should be fine. So Saul's winding up right there, tossing the bottle just like that. Okay, there we go. All right, and let's take a look. That timing should be fine. I think we kind of got a good, spitball of how the timing is going to look before this, and you can see that. There you go. Okay, well let's go back a little bit further. There you go, perfect. So kind of just jumping over the bottle right there. And let's come maybe even try to add a bit more dynamic energy to Emma's jump here. Let's go back to Emma's track right here, and we'll zoom out. All right, we'll just go to where her 3D motion is taking place here, here to here, up to where she's in her jumping position. We can maybe even just delete this middle one right here. Let's go ahead and delete that, and right click this one here. Maybe we want to ease this one in. Let's go ahead and ease this one in right here. Take a look at our transition curve. Maybe make that a bit steeper. Let's go ahead and test that one out right there. There you go. So it's a bit better. So she's kind of not doing anything until about there, and then just kind of just jumping right there. All right, so there we're good to go. I like that one right there. It's a bit more dynamic, and that's about it. So let's go ahead and have a bit more fun. Just this last step here, we're going to add in some sound effects. So let's go to maybe at the first frame here. I'm going to open up my project track, and in the project track, we don't need the wine accessory there anymore. I'm going to go into sound effects here, and in sound effects, at the very beginning, we're going to have Saul say something. Now you can there's a number of different ways you can do this. You can actually just add a track onto Sol there. So if we selected Sol and I selected create script right here and I use the wave file, let's go to Sol's audio right here, and he's going to be saying something like, "See you later, dude."
Buzz you later, dude.
Alright, so he's going to say, "Buzz you later, dude," and then he's going to toss that that bottle. And that did an automatic lip sync, as you can see there. So maybe about right here, maybe this frame right here, we want to add a sound effect in here. Now to add a sound effect, you can simply right click in the sound effect menu, or in the sound effect track rather, and import. And let's go ahead, I think I have a a bottle throw right here, and that'll add in a, I don't know if you caught that little we had there. There we go. That's pretty well timed out there. And then maybe about here, let's go ahead and import in. We have this bottle break. I think it's bottle break 2. That sounds pretty good. There you go. Okay, so Sol's just tossing stuff around and causing chaos in the streets. So there you go. That's pretty much how you can use the sound effect track. You can add music in there as well. And we have separate tutorials for cameras and all that stuff. Now again, if you wanted to take this motion from Sol and you wanted to save that motion, we can just open up Sol's track, actor Sol right here, and let's go ahead into the collect clip track. Now we have our this is our 3D motion. Say I wanted to kind of include everything, this idle and everything like that. In my collect clip track, what I need to do is just left click rather and drag in the whole area that I want, and I can just right click that, and I can select export 3D motion, export perform. I prefer to choose export 3D motion in this case. And let's go ahead and call this Sol throw. Whoops. I can't type today. Throw. There we go. Sol throw. So that's going to save into our custom folder of our motion tab right there, our motion folder. So let's go ahead and save that as a 3D motion. And there we go. We have that motion saved. So what if we wanted to apply it to another character? Let's go ahead and close this down. And press F4 again so we can bring up our content manager. And let's just bring in Walter into our scene here. So let's bring Walter in right beside Sol here. He's going to be imitating Sol. Sol's such a cool, rebellious guy. Walter wants to kind of imitate him. Let's go ahead and use that right bracket to bring it back into that position. And then if we go to our animation tab here, we should be able to go into the custom folder and the motion folder. And there we have Sol throw. So let's take that one and apply that to Walter there.
Buzz you later, dude.
Alright, so you see they have the exact same throw now. So that's basically how it goes. Now we can add some quick dynamic camera movement to this as well if we want. Let's just go ahead and do that really quickly. I'll just go into F3 into the timeline. We want to just take Walter out of the way there. I just wanted to show you how you can save those clips for later. We can delete Walter for now. Let's press F3, go into our timeline here, and let's go to our camera right here. And what I want to do is I want to make sure I click up over here, and this will go into our camera record mode. So you can see we are over here, and what we need to do is let's just go ahead and zoom out a little bit. We want to kind of follow Emma on the taxi first. So let's go ahead and make sure you remember that everything within this red area here is actually what's going to be in your scene. So let's go ahead and start maybe right on the corner here, and then press F3, go into our timeline again, and maybe about here. Where's that sound effect? Right here. So when he says "Buzz you later, dude."
Later, dude.
Maybe we want to kind of about frame 25. We want to kind of just pan over right here. And pan over to Sol, just saying "Buzz you later, dude." We can maybe zoom in a little bit right here. So then we should have this kind of camera movement right here.
Buzz you later, dude.
And then if we add a keyframe in that camera track to about here, and we can double click and add that keyframe right there. And then about here is where we want to kind of zoom in on Emma right here, jumping over that bottle. You can see the bottle is just right behind her. She's kind of jumping off the screen there. Maybe we don't want that to be, we want her head to be in there. Alright, and that should be okay. So let's take a look at what this looks like right here.
Buzz you later, dude.
Alright, so, that's basically how you can just do your simple camera movement. Just wanted to show you that in the timeline, how to do the sound effects and the camera movement and everything like that. So I think that's about it for this tutorial. Hopefully you enjoyed watching. Hopefully you learned something about the transition curves and the time warps. They're super useful for creating more dynamic effects, energetic effects in your animation. And make sure you check back on our YouTube channel regularly to check out all of our new and funky tutorials. So thanks for watching.